Namaste, angels. Hope everybody had a good week. This is the weekly general reading for the period of Sunday, April 26th, I think it was, through Saturday to come, May 1st, also known as May Day. And there's also a Christian holiday on the 1st that we'll talk about after I do the cards at the end for those who want to stick around. With the dice, we're beginning with 29, spiritual partnership. Weekend away. And forget it. It's Taurus season. Happy birthday to any Taurians out there. You guys know I love Taurus. I'm a fan of Aries too. That just ended. I can't really say that there's any signs that I dislike. But I'm like oil and water with Cancer males. You know, just keeping it real. So if I had to choose one that I didn't like, it would be them. Anyway, it's 50-50. Dirty movie. And buy shoes. For those new to the channel, buy shoes, you know, can be literal buy shoes, and they could be walking shoes. Sometimes I pick up, I feel like it's about like walking away from somebody. Could be in celebration, so it could be like dancing shoes, or maybe for a job interview or whatever. I'm not getting anything particular right now about it, so you can see how it applies in your life. Dirty movie tends to be like exchanging of pictures. It could be viral video, you know, that goes around a community or the world, even, you know, the country. It can be you and another person or a couple of persons exchanging pictures, video more privately. It can be contact via like text or, you know, some sort of online communication or online dating. When it comes up for me, and it's 50, can be about, it's 50-50 rather, it can be about balance, give and take, like a chance, a shot, you know, like it can go either way, 50-50, all of those things. Speaking of it's 50-50 with the cards, we're starting with the Two of Cups, which can also be about give and take or balance. Twos are also about partnership. The Two of Cups is often, you know, about romantic partnership, but it doesn't have to be. It can be close friendship, you know, like a BFF. It can be parent-child, you know, or some other relative, close, or business partnership. Behind the Two of Cups, you have the Page of Cups. This is possibly because of the Scorpio full moon that occurs this week. That might be where we're starting out with this water energy, and it may bring about maybe some loving messages. That could be what the dirty movie is. Maybe get a nice message from somebody or something, some sort of offer. But this can be in a different area too. It doesn't have to be romantic. It can be, you know, maybe you've been looking for a job, or you've been hoping for a promotion. You know, some good news, something, the job you could fall in love with. You know, like an offer you love. Okay, the Knight of Cups is also here, though. So more and more, it's looking like it is something romantic, right? Followed by Strength and the Ace of Swords, like a new beginning. This one is in reverse, however. Both the Knight and the Page are potentially an actual Cancer, Scorpio, or Pisces, or someone likened to those traits or attributes that is in your life. The Knight of Cups, even in reverse, is still a really wonderful omen with regard to love. It is one of those sweep you off your feet cards, particularly if you're single. You could meet somebody who just sort of, makes you feel like your world been turned upside down, like in a good way. With the Page, that person may be younger than you. It could even be days, like when this card comes up, and we think younger, like a May-December relationship, or like robbing the cradle, as they used to say, or, you know, cougars and sugar babies and all that kind of stuff. But it could be somebody that's just slightly younger, or somebody who's like particularly youthful, like maybe a Pisces, maybe a mutable sign, you know, or somebody like that. So like a Pisces, a Gemini, a Virgo, a Sagittarius, you know, these people that are sort of like forever young and young at heart. It can be somebody who is less mature than you, maybe in other ways, as well. But these are this is really beautiful energy, whether it's romantic love or it's work. Strength is a card that in every area of your life that it shows up in, it is positive too. It means good things for general, for love, for work. there's nowhere where it's not good. And the Ace of Swords, I'm going to say, with regard to love, since that's what's been coming up here, can be about like you falling for somebody who, I don't want to say is dangerous. What's the word I'm looking for? Definitely not your usual type. It may be somebody that's younger than you or that's older than you. Maybe this one is you. Anyway, let's see what else comes up. So last week I talked about celibacy block. A couple of you got back to me like, yeah, my man is on definitely a celibacy block. One woman wrote in the comments that her masculine was blocked because it's Ramadan. And look, I just opened right back up to that Knight of Cups. Her masculine can't have sex because it's Ramadan, and I hadn't thought about that, but that certainly applies. That when I saw this inability for them to perform or act, I didn't think about Ramadan, but it is true. If you are practicing Muslim and you are unmarried, you are not able to have sex during Ramadan, or even to like live with a person of the opposite sex or anything. So a lot of people get married, like, and you don't have to get married in a courthouse. Like, you can get married by an imam, doesn't have to. So it might not be legal, or wouldn't be legal in that case, for your location. Well, at least not in the United States, for where you live, but it's legal, in terms of the religion. People would get married. I remember my chosen child, my ex-husband's grandmother, she was a practicing Muslim. She actually owned a mosque number 1 in Harlem. And, she was married or would get married. I mean, of course, she was older, so the husbands would die off or whatever. She'd get another one. I couldn't. It's like, I'm scared of you, Remember, she'd pull up her like dress down sometimes to show me how she was clean shaven. She didn't have no drawers. I mean, I don't either, so I'm not going to talk. But it was just so funny because she was, my husband's grandmother at the time. Anyway, our overall energy is now Major Arcana card 7, the Chariot. So we're still staying in that element of water. Also, those of you who saw the love reading for last week, you know that from a different deck, I pulled the Chariot for the masculine. That was the energy he was wanting to give to the union or connection. And it meant that he was ready to sort of move forward full steam ahead. As the Fool, immediately behind this Chariot, would also indicate, right? This is about a leap of faith, whether it's in love, work, some other aspect of your life, general, just changing your path, because the Fool can often be about something spiritual. So it'd be like a new beginning of a spiritual nature, maybe ascension, a deepening of your current spirituality or interest in metaphysics or something like that. And then we have, this is weird, like immediately after the Fool, to see the 4 of Pentacles, because this is about something that you need to let go of. Most often, it can have its positives to it too. But when I pull it, most often it's like not one of my favorite cards because, well, I'll get to that in a minute. Let me get the stands. Let's do that first. I said that like they were far away and I had to go somewhere for them. They're right here. All right. So the four of Pentacles, I most often I like to use the example of like a job. That job that you really don't like. And chances are it doesn't like you, and the people there don't like you and you don't like them, but you go to this job because you get a paycheck, right? It's like, I can't stand it. They can't stand me. I really want out of there, but I get a paycheck, so I'm not going to quit. Especially like times like this, I get it, where, the globe is in like economic downturn for the most part, for most people, the most part, depending upon what industry you're in. I mean, some people are making it big during this period and have been the whole time during the pandemic. But for the most part, people, aren't doing their best right now. And so, and companies are closing and going out of business. So you might feel like lucky to have a job, like I cannot quit right now. And I get that. And this might not be about a job. I'm using job as an example of this staying somewhere or in something in which you're miserable for the sake of like one thing that should not be the chain to your ankle to keep you in this place or relationship or circumstance or situation. You really should be trying to get out. And maybe that's why the Fool is immediately behind it. It's saying like, take a leap of faith. Don't worry about the fact that, the world is in economic downturn. You go after that new job. You take that new job. Don't worry about your living situation. You go ahead and move out and move into that new apartment, or move in with your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your whatever. I don't know, a commune, a group of other people, spiritual people. You go ahead and whatever this thing is for you to do. And it could definitely be about moving, because now I'm also considering again that the Chariot is the top card. The Chariot is about movement or moving. It's also a card of victory, as is the Ace of Swords that we saw earlier. So it could be like coming out on top of a situation, winning, #winning. All right, so I'm going to pull 6 cards, as we've been doing the past several weeks. Probably about 2 months now, we've been pulling 6 cards. The first one will most directly represent us, as a collective over the course of the week. And it is, 3 of Swords. Let's pull another one and see what that's about. What's this 3 of Swords about? The King of Wands. Let me put them here together, because I'm going to put something else here. I forgot. King of Wands, most directly a Sagittarius, but also potentially an Aries or a Leo. Could be somebody's father, somebody's masculine, if it's an actual person. The King of Wands is the quintessential divine masculine of the tarot, like in a general way. Could be about Jupiter. We'll get into it a little bit more in a second. Surrounding energy, close friends, family members, co-workers. 3 of Cups, upright. So there's some positivity there. We're seeing the 3s again. Last week, the 3s were big too. Work and finance. Queen of Cups. Positive too. Most directly a Scorpio, like the full moon that occurs this week. Actually, is it the full moon that occurs on the 26th? And I said the reading started the 26th. I don't know. We'll figure that out in a minute too. Yeah, but most directly a Scorpio, although potentially a Cancer or Pisces, like the Page and the Knight that we've also seen tonight. Or someone likened to those traits or attributes that's not a water sign at all. Love and relationship. 3, again, 3 of Pentacles in reverse. Physical health. 7 of Wands in reverse. And last but not least, spiritual health. Wow. 10 of Cups upright. Again, speaking about ascension, I talked about the headaches and stuff last week, but that I was getting like a different feeling, that some of them weren't so positive, weren't because of things like ascension. They were more like physical attacks upon people. But some of us were experiencing the ascension, and I'll tell you this story later. Let's get into the overall energy. I like to make it sure everything is in frame, and it is. All right, let me tell you the story before I forget. I know I'm all over the place today. I don't know what that's about. Like I haven't felt like doing any readings that I didn't necessarily have to all week. So I didn't do the dailies. I've just been, I don't know. I did readings that I needed to do, and I did healings that I needed to do, but like anything extra, I wasn't feeling it this week. I just couldn't. I don't know. It may have been like all the stuff that was going on around the world or the country, at least. So anyway, speaking of that, Tuesday, I had to go pick up my son, and in the Bronx, um, and I was coming from Lower Manhattan, and I get almost all the way up, almost all the way to him, and I'm at a stoplight, and I was made to like look up and over, and I saw this house, and it was house number 144, and immediately next to it was the Church of Saint Stephen. And I remember thinking, I don't really know that much about Saint Stephen. I remember he's supposed to be the first martyr of, the church after Jesus. Um, but I don't really know anything else about him. And then I started thinking about like why I had been shown there, like what I was supposed to pay attention to that for, the first martyr. And then I started thinking about George Floyd. So this was Tuesday before the verdict. This was like maybe 1:30 in the afternoon. And I had to pick him up because the two of us, we both had physical therapy in Lower Manhattan to attend for different reasons, but we both had it. So we came downtown, went to physical therapy, and after we came out, he finished before me and left me. So I was walking home by myself, and I like stopped at the store. Like when you sort of like walking kind of aimlessly. Like I had somewhere to go. I needed to go back home, and I had a bunch of meetings. After that, I had one at 5:30, one that was starting at 6. Like that, I was gonna have to jump off the 5:31 to be on time for the other one. So it was a really really busy day for me. But I was sort of walking like I don't know aimlessly. I told you I've been like in a weird mood or vibe all week. Um, so I'm walking and I bump into a friend of mine, and she says, "Did you hear?" And I'm like, "Hear what?" And she's like, "They're gonna announce the verdict in like a half hour." And I'm like, "Oh no, okay." So now I'm motivated. Right? Like, let me get my ass home. Um, but I had felt that the Saint Stephen thing was telling me about the George Floyd verdict. Like this is like the first martyr. Like doing this for everybody. Sort of like his daughter said, "My daddy changed the world." And then sure enough, again, that turned out to be the day that the verdict came out and was in his favor or in our favor. Although I was one of the people that didn't necessarily jump up and down and party and celebrate. Um, Seeing it more like I've seen some other people say it is now. Like that was partial accountability. It wasn't really justice. Like justice would be him still breathing, right? That would be justice. Justice would be him having been arrested if that's what the cops felt like he needed, if they felt he did something illegal, not killed in the street. So is that even the story I meant to tell y'all? I guess that's a story that I wanted to tell y'all at some point during this reading, probably. Oh, the thing that I meant to say that was about the ascension. That's what we were talking about, right? The ascension. Yeah. So you guys remember how I used to always hear hot nigga by Bobby Shmurda when there was going to be like a major ascension, particularly for the masculine, and I had been hearing it all week, maybe for like 2 weeks. And also that song by Young and May, Ooh, and I don't know what that was trying to tell me. And today I'm in the car. I don't remember where I was going or coming from, but I was in the car. I had one of my daughters. Oh, we were going to Brooklyn. One of my daughters with me, and yes, the other one's in class. And so I'm listening. I'm really the only one listening to the radio. I think my daughter even had her the AirPods. I think she had her AirPods in. And so I'm listening, and the guy's talking, and I just felt like that Bobby Shmurda was going to come on. I said, "Oh, they're about to play. They're about to play Hot Nigga," and it wasn't. It was Young and May. It was the Ooh. And actually, both my daughters were with me. This is after we picked up the younger one too. And the Ooh came on, and I started thinking like right away again, like, okay, but I think this must be some sort of message too, because like I was expecting it before any music was even playing, and I've been thinking about these two songs, trying to figure out like what's up. Um, so that's the song plays out. I'm kind of listening to it. I'm kind of more in my head like what's this about than paying attention to the actual words, which could have maybe told me what it was about. I'll have to look them up later. And as soon as it went off, then Hot Nigga came on. And I'm like, okay, so we have that, at least for the masculine. We have some sort of ascension thing this week. But what does it have to do? What does it have to do with ooh? So, well, you guys maybe want to help me with that. We can figure it out. All right, now let me focus on the reading and the chariot, our overall energy, which is what I said 15 minutes ago that I was about to do. All right, so the chariot, as I mentioned, is a card of victory. It's a card of movement, moving. If it's not about us physically or even metaphorically moving or move, it's still about energy, right? That is moving. Energy that is, and it's a lot of energy too, that's moving, but it's directed, right? It's focused, it's controlled. There's a goal in mind. And I guess that's where the victory also comes in. There's a goal in mind that we're going to achieve something, we're going to be successful with something, or there's a purpose behind this energy. And when the card comes up, it usually means that we're fairly, at least fairly clear on what it is we want to do, or maybe some, again, goals, hopes, dreams, and what we have to do to make them happen. Also, it's a card that represents sort of determination, right? That's that focused energy, determination, ambition, completion of things, getting things done. Um, it definitely shows up to let us know that if there's something that we've been wanting to move ahead with, so this is what I was saying, kind of like with the Four of Pentacles, that's a card of like being stuck and holding on to something and maybe not moving. But if we've been wanting to move ahead with that new relationship, with that new job, with just getting rid of the old one, then this card shows up to say you should move forward with whatever it is you have in mind or in your heart or both to do, and give it your best shot. So that would also tie in with the Fool, right? And taking a leap of faith and following your heart and following the guidance that you've received as an individual, and going after it, but with a very focused and an intent manner about you. Also very important to remember that you'll have to, on this journey or perhaps new path or whatever, you'll need to use both your intellect, right, your mind, and your heart in order, your and soul, all of that, kind of like the high priestess, in order to really be successful, or as successful as you can be with an energy or card like the chariot showing up. So moving on to the card that's going to most directly represent us, or cards most directly represent us this week, we have this Three of Swords, and it was clarified by the King of Wands, which again, King of Wands, very masculine energy, could be father figure, divine masculine, could be you, even if you are a female and or feminine, identifying, particularly if you're in some sort of leadership position or role. This can be about something going on, and with the big scheme of things, the big picture, there is something sad, maybe even heartbreaking, and it could be about what you have to leave, like what you have to leave behind. Sometimes I've talked about this too, I think even last week. Sometimes even, for example, like if we need to get divorced, we need to leave a relationship, a marriage. Even if we're done with that and we know that it's toxic for us, it's the wrong place, it's not where we belong, it can still be sad, it can still be heartbreaking that things didn't work out, right? That we have to move on this way. So it could be something like that. It doesn't have to be marriage, but I'm trying to give you an example of like the big picture, something went awry. So that's one potential meaning. It could have something to do with, again, a leader, a boss, a father figure, an actual father, maybe, married man, somebody secure, stable, divorcee, widow, somebody that has some sort of like authority, or that we look to in that way, like with respect. Suffering, experiencing some sort of suffering, could be. Or this can be about us overcoming some sort of grief, maybe involving another person or a person, like what I was just describing. And I think that that's probably more likely, like moving beyond that, because the cards with the surrounding energy is far more positive, right? It's we have the Three of Cups here, upright, and so this is a card of reunions. Maybe somebody's attending a memorial this week, and so it could be a little bit of both. It could be reuniting with people that we care about, that we love, friends, family members, but at the same time, we are sort of mourning, or moving beyond a grief or suffering with regard to, maybe somebody that was in a leadership position in our lives or something. So yeah, on its own though, the Three of Cups is a card of reunions. Sometimes romantic, but not always. It can be like, again, memorial, could be like a class reunion, getting together with people that went to school with you. I don't know, some people that you were, I don't know, some sort of getting back together. You guys know what I mean. Also, one of the general meanings of this card is that we will be reunited with someone or something. Doesn't even have to be a person. This is going to be a positive, a pleasant reunion. This one is it's not, at least one positive, pleasant reunion with someone or something from which we've been apart for some time. And so maybe that is what this King of Wands and Three of Swords is about. Maybe we've been grieving being separated from somebody, and we get over it by reuniting. Okay, that's a possibility too. So let's move on to work and finance. And the Queen of Cups, it can be another actual person. We've seen quite a few characters already this week. Maybe an actual woman or feminine energy, very maternal, nurturing sort of person. So in the context of work, it can often be an actual woman, a literal woman that's going to be very helpful to you, like nurturing it within the context of work. I'm trying to think of how somebody can be helpful to you in the context of work. Just, I don't know, maybe it's somebody for you to talk to, maybe somebody who literally is assisting you in some sort of way. I don't know. It's a support. I'm not coming up with, sometimes I try to, I try to give an example from like actual life so you can say, oh, okay, I get it. I know what you mean. But I'm not really coming up with anything. But it's a supportive energy. So it could be literal help to you. You need, you're behind a deadline or something, and somebody that comes through for you, maybe an actual female, somebody that helps you, or that, like helps you keep things in order, or, organized. I don't know. Let me move on. So finances. It's also a positive card when it comes to finances, perhaps separate and apart from work. Not everybody even has a, day-to-day job. You may own your own company or be unemployed or retired or whatever. So just speaking of finances that possibly have nothing to do with your work, still positive. And it's going to be like, no matter what's happening in your life, then you should, with regard to finances, it's a card that says like you can kind of cut yourself some slack and give yourself like a break. You don't have to be as on edge as maybe you have been with regard to finances. You can sort of relax in that area. And she's also about, like, the queen, also about like creativity in terms of um the people play, like the resources that you have available to you, which could include actual people, and maybe again specifically a woman, for help, advice, support, some sort of positive difference or help, financially. Again, you should expect positive movement in your finances with this card showing up. And you could get some like good news. So if you don't have a job and you were looking for one, for example, maybe you're going to hear about one, or you're going to get a notice about some sort of increase, or you're going to get a notice that you don't, or that you no longer or don't maybe owe some money, like a debt may go away. It could be that kind of good news, like, oh, I thought I don't know, how to pay this ticket. I thought I had a tax bill due. I thought whatever. And something like could be going away. So it might not be actual finances and money coming into your hand, but it's the equivalent of that, which is just as good. Love and relationship, it's a good time to meet people, particularly in love. In love, in work rather. So, or through work, maybe. And maybe that's where dirty movie comes in. Maybe you're talking to somebody like over Zoom, or at some sort of meeting. You have to go over pictures, documents, I don't know, something online because it's connected to work. Maybe not. You guys get the idea. And just a good omen in general as it relates to love. It's about fertility too. I mentioned that we've entered Taurus season, and there's another three of Pentacles, or Earth, so to speak, a major arcana one, aka the Empress, which in part represents the sign of Taurus. And that card certainly is about fertility too. So this one is about fertility for me as well, particularly when in reverse. And your fertility could be higher than usual, so like more likely to become pregnant than another time, or to maybe get somebody pregnant than another time, with this showing up of the appearance of this card. um if you have been wanting to add to your family, maybe now is when you'll do it. This could mean some people may be moved to get like a pet this week or something, to add that to your family. And that may be how you move beyond something as well. Maybe king for somebody was a dog, um, that passed away, and you're going to replace it. You're going to get another one. Obviously, that wouldn't be for too many people. That would be for somebody that might be listening, because I don't even know where that just came from. If you are single and looking for love, this is definitely a good time to meet people, again, particularly through work. You do have to be careful when it shows up like this, though, about being like having a tendency to be like overly, um, like subservient to, in a way that you're coming across like you're not equal to the potential partner that you're meeting. And that's not a good look or a good feeling. Like, hold your head up, have some, esteem. And maybe because they are, it has something to do with work, possibly, or their work, and you see them as somebody who, maybe is more stable, secure, a big shot than you or something, and you feel like you don't sort of measure up. And I use the word subservient on purpose because I almost said submissive, and that's not what I mean. Because I'm submissive to my men. I am absolutely submissive to my men, and I don't think that I could be with a man that I, didn't feel that way with. It could be old fashioned or whatever. I don't think it's even has to do with that, because I mean, some people are dominant and some people are submissive and some people are somewhere in the middle, right? Um, and I guess I have times when I switch places too. But if I had to pick one, like overall, for the most part, I am submissive to my men. And so I need a particular type of man, because I can't be submissive to everybody. So I'll be single for a long ass time until I find a man that is for me to be submissive to, right? Appropriate, that I feel comfortable being submissive to. So it's not that I feel subservient in general to men and I'm just going to be like that for everybody. That's not the case. I cannot, will not. But for the right one, I naturally fall into that role. Um, my men lead as strong a personality and as capable of a person in general, but certainly a woman, as I am in leading myself, as independent as I am in general, and as an air sign, a Gemini, Aquarius, no less. um, I still am, again, submissive, but I'm not subservient. And this card is about potentially being subservient, like in a way that you are feeling or coming across, or both, as you are not, equal, not as worthy. You are less than the other person. We definitely want to be careful about that. So again, like, hold your head up, have some confidence. But it's a positive card. If you're already in a relationship, it can be about the strengthening of a relationship, again, the growing of your family. So it's a wonderful card either way. Moving on to physical health, we have the Seven of Wands in reverse. And the Seven of Wands is a card that is about, standing your ground when you make decisions, being firm, again, confident, right? In your moves and what you're doing, right? The way you're moving. And so in reverse, it can be kind of like the opposite, like about being anxious, maybe about a problem that we're facing, or again, the new path that we feel like we're facing, or opportunity. What should I do? I'm nervous. I can't make a decision. I can't put my foot down. I'm not sure what to do. Um, Now, just because I'm saying that it's probably anxiety. If you are having some sort of physical symptoms, I'm not suggesting that you necessarily ignore them. I mean, it's definitely important to understand any sort of mind body connection that you may be going through. And there could be symptoms that you need to get checked out by a doctor. You would know that better than me. Um, and then certainly, if you're given like a clean bill of health, the doctor says you're fine. I don't know why the hell you came in here. A trustworthy medical professional. You want to make sure you're going to. Then, if that should give you like reassurance that, okay, I gotta consider, my thoughts, what's going on in my head, what's going on with me emotionally, spiritually, and you can figure out from there, if what you need to do, like what your next step should be, maybe how to go about, bringing yourself a sense of calm, maybe doing some meditation, spending some time outdoors, both, like doing your meditation outdoors, sitting by yourself in the park, listening to music, jogging, like whatever makes you feel sort of connected to the earth and grounded. Last but not least, for our spiritual health, the Ten of Cups is a really awesome card to get. It's the other day I posted on my Facebook something I say to you guys all the time: life is both too short and too long to be unhappy. And I ended up typing that, but what I had set out to do, or what I had felt to do in the moment, was just to put carpe diem, which means seize the day, right? Definitely live in the moment and be present. Enjoy, spend as much time as you can happy and doing what you want to do and enjoy doing, and what makes you happy, and what makes you feel loved, and what makes you feel strong, or what makes you feel joyous. All of that, because again, it's too long. 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100 years to be around and miserable. Way too long. Also very short in the scheme of things, when the world is millions and millions and millions of years old, right? 100 years is a blip. And many of us aren't even as fortunate to get to that. So definitely be happy. And that's what the Ten of Cups is about. So this week, I think, and it may be tied to this reunion, that we're going to have, or maybe tied to moving forward on something, or to a victory, or to success at work, or in love, meeting somebody, getting swept off our feet, meeting somebody through work. It could be any one of these things that sort of does it for us. But the Ten of Cups is about living in the moment and seizing the day and just really sort of permeating, radiating good, positive energy, good vibes, healthy, positive attitude, just feeling good, like about life, and the fact that you woke up in the morning. And it's important that you share like that kind of energy, these attitudes, these positive vibrations with the people around you too, especially if they're down, because that can spread. A smile can spread. That you've ever heard that expression, smiles are contagious or laughter is contagious. The same way misery loves company. We can spread around positivity and happiness too. So that's what the Ten of Cups is about. I'd say we should expect to have at least one really good day, if not just a good week. This week, for further clarification, I'm using the Ascended Masters deck, beginning with Purification and White Tara. This is another card that for me is very much about ascension, right? Purification, sort of being cleansed, washed by positive energy. The next card is in reverse. It is the goddess Isis, talking about balance. We did start out with the Two of Cups, which again can be about balance. This is about balancing career and home life. And, like not making sure that we have time for both. You're not just, what is this? I didn't even realize. Oh, look at that. Twin Flame, Work Your Magic. This card was backwards. I guess from when I was shuffling, it flipped over. It flipped itself around, and I didn't notice. It's on top of Work Your Magic and Saint Germain, one of the guardians of the Violet Ray, which is very twin flamey all in itself. His twin flame, Lady Portia, and who was like justice. Think the goddess of justice. They together guarded twin flame and Work Your Magic. And I suppose it could easily have to do with this positive reunion. I mean, that's for sure, if nothing else. All right, so we won't see Twin Flame again because I didn't plan on shuffling these again, and it's in the middle there. But maybe the universe wanted us to see it, so we've seen it. And consider that one of our cards, but now I'm going to pull 6 cards from this deck, to join the others. So, first one for, again, the card that will most directly represent us this week, it's You Can Do It, and Archangel Michael. So it might be, again, moving beyond some sort of grief to, okay, it's time to get back in the game and move toward success and victory, whatever the situation is that we're dealing. Apply it, how it resonates with you, if it does. Surrounding energy, joining the Three of Cups. Focus upon your strengths, says Apollo. This could be people around us that are, needing to be positive. This can be connected to us sharing, again, positive energy and I was going to say gassing other people up, but it's not fake like that. Like gassing them up, can be tied to like just hyping people up in a kind of like a fake way. This is, again, spreading, having your happiness be and your good vibes be contagious. That's just going to be your strength this week, your spiritual superpower, so to speak. Focus on that and share it with other people that are surrounding you. Work and finance, joining the Queen of Cups, we have you are seeing this situation accurately. We have the moon. Again, that's where the full moon this week will be in Scorpio, which the Queen of Cups represents. We have a full moon showing up on this picture. And you're seeing the situation accurately. So again, receiving good news or feeling good vibes or feeling appreciated in your work. Yes, you are correct. It's true. They do appreciate you. That's one of the things that the Queen of Cups means as well in terms of work that I don't think I mentioned. And love and relationship. we have a very earth feeling type of card joining our earth energy that we already had here, the Three of Pentacles, health and healing. So this could be healing to an existing relationship, again, a deepening of an existing relationship, a growing of an existing relationship or family, adding more members to it, which can be, tied to health as well as healing. And even starting a new relationship, because it could be moving beyond grief, moving beyond maybe a past relationship toward, a new one that will be more positive and more, equitable for you. As long as you, again, don't slip into this subservience. Joining the Seven of Wands in reverse for our physical health, and I said that was about anxiety. We have Teacher. So this could be guiding you to do some sort of like introspection. It gives me sort of Hierophant / Hermit feels, both of which are earth energies too. The Hierophant represents the sign of Taurus. Maybe that's why I mentioned that one first. And the Hermit represents the sign of Virgo. But I've described the Hermit as a teacher. I say sometimes it represents like a teacher or a professor or some, a lawyer, somebody like that for me in our lives. And sometimes in a metaphoric way, it's about you being like both the teacher and student of yourself. So you're doing this introspection, you're going within so you can learn more about yourself. And that may be what is needed to do to move beyond, again, any anxiety that's keeping you from your goals this week. And last but not least, our spiritual health and the Ten of Cups. We have mother, wife, sister, daughter, and Lady Nada. And mother, wife, sister, daughter is a card about the a feminine energy in your life with whom you need to heal a relationship. And it could be yourself. Again, it could be your own inner feminine, whether you identify as a masculine or a feminine or are a male or female. We all have an inner feminine. If not, there could be something with mother, wife, sister, daughter. The Ten of Cups is also a card that is about family. You even see it depicted here. So family, again, being surrounded by love, just feeling good, feeling happy, and maybe some of us doing that in a literal sense because we are surrounded by women and or feminine energies in our life. And that could be what is making us feel particularly good. On that note, I have 2 other readings to do for this week, so I don't think I need to pull any more cards for this one. We're going to have the love reading. We're going to have the moon reading. I think we're going to get plenty of like angles and perspectives, insight into the week. So I'm going to move on to, for those of you who want to stick around, talking about what's going on this week. I'm going to pick up my computer and stuff. Okay. Get logged in here. Sorry about that or this delay. Okay. So I actually did not look at the Muslim calendar this week, but off the top of my head, there's nothing else going on. It's still Ramadan, of course. And I think through May, sometime in May, we'll talk about that maybe in another reading. It's not this weekend. It's not over yet. It's, like a little bit over a month long. Hebrew calendar. We do have one thing to talk about on the Hebrew calendar. And they continue to count the Omer, similar to on the Christian calendar. We continue to have like the octaves of Easter, leading up to the Pentecost and stuff. But there is one day, April 30th, which is my grandmother's birthday. She's gone. My late grandmother's birthday. My big mama. So last week I told you that April 18th was my granny's birthday, my great grandmother. And so this is my big mama, my granny's daughter. They actually passed away very close together too. Um, or like around the same day in February, like a year apart. So like my granny was waiting for my big mama to pass away. That was her daughter. It's like she wanted to take care of her baby until she was gone, and then she left like the following February. And I can't remember right now which day either one of them passed. I know my big mama's funeral was on my former wedding anniversary. February 25th was the day of my grandmother's funeral, and that was the day I got married. Anyway, yeah, she was a Taurus. Maybe that's one of the reasons why I love them. But I told you that my Midhaven sign, my MC sign is Taurus. So I have that chunk of Taurus myself. My granny was an Aries. I talked in the beginning about how I love Aries too. So maybe that's why I never thought about it. Anyway, April 30th is more than my big mama's birthday. I was going to say just my big mama's birthday, but that's plenty. For me, that's plenty. It is also a Jewish holiday, religious holiday, Lag BaOmer, and it is day 33, master number 33, in the counting of the Omer. And this day is particularly impactful, important, because, and this I'm taking from, it's a calendar, it's from a Jewish calendar, but they explain what the day means. It is a Jewish holiday celebrated on the 33rd day of the counting of the Omer, which occurs on the 18th day. Oh, isn't that something? I was just saying my great grandmother's birthday was the 18th, and my big mama's is the 30th. So yeah, it occurs on the 18th day of the Hebrew month of Iyar, okay, which is this month. This day marks the Hilula, which is a celebration interpreted by some as the anniversary of death. That's very interesting. Why is that interesting? Because we have this week the Pluto, not I was going to say the Pluto full moon, the Scorpio full moon. And Scorpio and its ruler Pluto are about death and rebirth. So like endings and beginnings, but very spiritual. This is interesting. So it's interpreted by some as anniversary of the death. That's the name of the holiday. And I guess it was started when they first celebrated a particular anniversary of a death, the one of a rabbi, Rabbi Shimon bar Yochai, who was a sage and leading disciple of Rabbi Akiva in the 2nd century. It's also the day on which he revealed the deepest secrets of the Kabbalah in the form of the Zohar, which is the book of splendor, happiness, joy. Maybe that's why we're experiencing that this week. Including the deepest secrets, including the lighting of the bonfires, pilgrimages to the tomb of Bar Yochai in the northern Israeli town of Meron, and various customs at the tomb itself. And it doesn't tell us anything else. I guess we have to read the book of Zohar if we want to know what the secrets of the Kabbalah are. But that's April 30th on the Jewish calendar. It starts on April 29th after sundown. I've explained that before, that Hebrew or Jewish holidays as well as Islamic or Muslim holidays start the day prior at sundown. Moving on to the Christian calendar, also from the calendar. No. From www.catholic.org/saints, we will be talking about St. Mark the Evangelist. He has a feast day on the 25th. That's the first day for which this reading is. The 25th through the 1st. Okay. So Sunday, the first day, is the feast of St. Mark. And we'll talk about him from this page. So let's see. St. Mark. Much of what we know about St. Mark, the author of the second gospel, comes largely from the New Testament and early Christian traditions. Mark the Evangelist is believed to be the John Mark who is referred to in the Acts of the Apostles, the history of the early church found in the canon of the New Testament. The Acts that's the same book that talks about Saint Stephen, which I mentioned I had some sort of, I don't know, spiritual thought about. He was the son of Mary of Jerusalem, which they talk about in Acts 12:12. And I've been seeing a lot of 12:12. I posted a 12:12 on the 21st, but I've been seeing a whole bunch, like daytime and night, every day for the past couple of days. But on the 21st, which was the anniversary of Prince's death, at midnight, so like as soon as it became the 21st, at 12:12, I posted like a picture, the screenshot of my phone, 12:12, 4:21, and I said R.I.P. Prince. Anyway, on that day, her home, in that book, Acts 12:12, it talks about how her home had become a meeting place for the apostles. He's also the cousin of St. Barnabas, who's talked about in Colossians 4:10, and as well as a Levite and a Cypriot. Mark joined St. Paul and St. Barnabas on their first missionary journey to Antioch in the year 44 AD. When the group reached Cyprus, Christian traditions hold that Mark left them and returned to Jerusalem, possibly because he was missing his home, and that they talk about that a bit in Acts 13:13. This incident may have caused Paul to question whether Mark could be a reliable missionary. This created a disagreement between Paul and Barnabas and led Paul to refuse Mark's accompaniment on their second journey to the churches of Sicilia and the rest of Asia Minor. So he was like, no, you ain't coming because last time you played me. Basically, it's what happened, right? However, it can be assumed that troubles between Paul and Mark did not last long, because when Paul was first imprisoned, Mark, who was at the time in Rome with plans of visiting Asia Minor, visited him as one of his trusted companions. And this is spoken of in Colossians 4:10. Mark's hopes to visit Asia Minor were most likely carried out because during Paul's second captivity and just before his martyrdom, Paul wrote to Timothy at Ephesus advising him to, quote, take Mark and bring him with you to Rome, for he is profitable to me, I guess valuable, important, for the ministry, end quote. Timothy 4:11. Timothy is one of my favorite books, by the way. Timothy 2, verse 4:11. Timothy 2 is also where it talks about how like money's the devil and all that stuff. It's one of my favorites. Anyway, if Mark returned to Rome at this time, he was probably there when Paul was martyred. According to Christian tradition, Mark also held a close relationship with St. Peter, who referred to Mark as his son in his letter addressed to a number of churches in Asia Minor. And we can see that in 1 Peter 5:13. 5:13 is going to come up again later today, in a moment. So 1 Peter 5:13. Clement of Alexandria, Irenaeus, and Papias all indicate that Mark was an interpreter for Peter. Although Papias states Mark had not personally heard the Lord speak firsthand, and like Luke, Mark was not one of the 12 apostles, some believe that Mark was likely speaking of himself when he wrote the description of Jesus' arrest in Gethsemane. Quote, now a young man followed him, wearing nothing but a linen cloth about his body. They seized him, but he left the cloth behind and ran off naked. End quote. Mark 14:51 through 52. So they think that he was the young boy that ran off naked. St. Mark lived for years in Alexandria, where he died as a martyr while being dragged through the streets. Mark's gospel was probably written between the years 60 and 70 AD and was based upon teachings of St. Peter. It's believed that Mark provided both Luke and Matthew with basic sources for their gospels. He was probably the first bishop of Alexandria, Egypt, and the founder of the Church of Alexandria, although he is not mentioned in connection to the city by either Clement of Alexandria nor by Origen. In 828, relics of St. Mark were stolen from Alexandria and taken to Venice, Italy. There, they are enshrined in a beautiful cathedral dedicated to the saint, to the year 828, which is 1809. Not sure if that means anything. St. Mark's symbol is a winged lion. Maybe that's why we saw the strength card in the beginning of the reading. This is believed to be derived from his description of St. John the Baptist as, quote, a voice of one crying out in the desert, end quote. Mark 1:3 or like 13. The wings come from Ezekiel's vision of 4 winged creatures as the evangelists. He is often depicted as writing or holding his gospel. He is sometimes shown as a bishop on a throne or as a man helping Venetian sailors. Saint Mark is the patron saint of Venice. His feast day is celebrated on April 25th. So 4, 7, or 11. Next up, we have Our Lady of Good Counsel. It's the following day. It's the 26th. I think the 26th is also the day of the full moon in Scorpio. So Our Lady, anytime you hear Our Lady, you know it's a feast day of Mary, usually because there was some sort of visitation or vision or something of Mary that was like certified by the church. So this occasion is no different. This is, again, I'm getting this information from AmericaNeedsFatima.org, as in like Our Lady of Fatima. But this is the story of the miraculous fresco of Our Lady of Good Counsel. And a fresco is like a mural on plaster. And so this is a story of a piece of a mural that is believed to have like traveled through the air, that people saw it from one country to another. So we're going to read about that now. This is the story, it says here, of an eggshell thin fresco of Our Lady, which flew all the way from Albania one day centuries ago. It descended on ancient Genazzano, a charming town on a hill 30 miles south of Rome. Because of its proximity to Rome, the city was chosen by many patricians and imperial courtiers as a site for their country villas. The vast gardens surrounding these villas often served as the stage for perverse feasts, pagan games, and heathen rituals in honor of the gods to whom the Romans attributed the fertility of their fields. One of these celebrations was held every April 25th in honor of the goddess Flora or Venus. Now, we just heard that St. Mark is his feast day is April 25th. We just talked about that. This was a celebration of Venus in her personification as this goddess Flora. For this event, people of all social classes, freemen and slaves, patricians and plebeians, gathered together for a great feast. This practice gradually dissolved and the temples fell into ruins, and the life-giving breath of Christianity regenerated the peoples of Europe. In the 3rd century, an order was given to build a shrine dedicated to the Mother of God under the tender invocation of Mother of Good Counsel on the ruins of the Roman temples. As the years went by, the city became more populous and the shrine grew in fame. During the Middle Ages, the Franciscans and the Augustines founded monasteries nearby. With the passing of years, the primitive temple erected in honor of the Mother of Good Counsel began to show signs of disrepair. Moreover, as the shrine was small, the faithful built larger and richer churches for their solemn functions. In the year 1356, about a century, which equals 6, which is one of Mary's numbers, of course, about a century before the appearance of the miraculous painting that would introduce Genazzano into the annals of marvels in the church, Prince Pietro Giordano Colonna, whose family had acquired lordship of the city, assigned the most ancient church of the city and its parish to the care of the hermits of St. Augustine. The faithful would thereby have the necessary pastoral assistance, and repairs could be made on the old church. Although the prayers of the faithful intensified, financial difficulties prevented the necessary and urgent restoration of the ancient temple. But the mother, who gives wise counsel in every circumstance and attentively provides for the necessities of men, chose a third order, Augustinian, Petruccia de Nocera, to carry out a supernatural prodigy that would bring about the much desired restoration. Petruccia had been left a modest fortune following the death of her husband in the year 1436. Living alone, she dedicated most of her time to prayer and services in the church, the Mother of Good Counsel, of the Church of the Mother of Good Counsel. It grieved her to see the deplorable state of the sacred premises, and she prayed fervently that they would be restored. Finally, she resolved to take on the initiative herself. After obtaining permission from the friars, like the monks, she donated her goods to the initial restoration in hopes that others would complete it once it was commenced. A plan was drawn up for the building of magnificent church. However, once that arduous undertaking had begun, Petruccia was already 80 years old and found that her generous offering was scarcely enough to complete the first phase of the new construction. To make matters worse, no one came forth to help. To her dismay, the building had hardly risen 3 feet when construction came to a halt due to lack of resources. Her friends and neighbors began to ridicule her, and detractors accused her of imprudence. Others severely reprimanded her in public. To all of them, she would say, "My dear children, do not put too much importance on this apparent misfortune. I assure you that before my death, the Blessed Virgin and our Holy Father Augustine, Father with a lowercase f, will finish the church begun by me." End quote. On April 25th, in the year 1467, the feast day of that's the 513. So April 25th is 11, and then 14 is 5, 67 is 13, so it's 513, which this page is called America Needs Fatima. 513 was the first visitation, 5 as in May and 13 as in the day, in the year 1917 or 99, was the first visitation of Our Lady of Fatima to the 3 children. Okay, so on April 25th, 1467, the feast day of the city's patron, Saint Mark. You see, isn't this crazy how he comes into play too? Okay, because he's the patron saint of the area. A solemn celebration began with a mass. It was Saturday, and the crowd began to gather in front of the Church of the Mother of Good Counsel. The only discrepant note in the celebration, so like unfortunate or the mismatch, it didn't fit, was the unfinished work of Petruccia. Like the only thing that was a damper on the day. At about 4 p.m, everyone heard the chords of a beautiful melody that seemed to come from heaven. The people looked up toward the towers of the churches and saw a white cloud that shone with 1,000 luminous rays. It gradually neared the stupefied crowd to the sound of an exceptionally beautiful melody. The cloud descended on the Church of the Mother of Good Counsel and poised over the wall of the unfinished chapel of St. Biagio, which Petruccia had started. Suddenly, the bells of the old tower began to ring themselves, and the other bells in the town rang miraculously in unison. The rays that emanated from the little cloud faded away, and the cloud itself gradually vanished, revealing a beautiful object to the enchanted gaze of the spectators. It was a painting that represented Our Lady tenderly holding her divine Son in her arms. Almost immediately, the Virgin Mary began to cure the sick and grant countless consolations, the memory of which was recorded for posterity by the local ecclesiastical authority. The news of the painting and its miracles spread throughout the province and beyond, attracting multitudes. Some cities formed enthusiastic processions to see the picture of the people the picture that the people called the Madonna of Paradise because of its celestial entrance into the city. Numerous alms were donated as an answer to the unwavering confidence that Our Lady had inspired in Petrutia. Amidst the general enthusiasm caused by the painting, Our Lady wished to divulge the true origin of the marvelous fresco to her devotees. Two foreigners named Giorgio and Desclavis entered the city among a group of pilgrims that had come from Rome. They wore strange clothes and spoke a foreign tongue, saying that they had arrived in Rome earlier that year from Albania. While most people had refused to believe their story, it had a special significance for the inhabitants of Genazzano. January of 1467 saw the death of the great Albanian leader George Castriota, before or better known as Skanderbeg, raised by Albanian chief. He placed himself at the head of his own people. Subsequently, Skanderbeg inflicted stunning defeats on the Turkish army and occupied fortresses all over Albania. With his death, the Turkish army finally freed from fulminating lion of war poured into Albania. So now they're talking about a lion again. That was St. Mark was the lion before. You guys, if you come up with anything of how this is all additionally tied together, I mean, clearly it is tied together, but additionally, feel free to put in the comments or whatever. Let me know. Occupying all of its fortresses, cities, and provinces, with the exception of Scutari in the north of the country. However, the city's capacity to resist was limited, and its capture was expected at any moment. With its fall, Christian Albania would be defeated. Faced with this prospect, those who wished to practice their faith in Christian lands began a sad exodus. Giorgio and Descalvis also studied the possibility of fleeing, but something kept them in Scutari, where there was a small church considered the shrine of the whole Albanian kingdom. In this church, the faithful venerated a picture of Our Lady, which had mysteriously descended from the heavens 200 years before. According to tradition, it had come from the east, having poured out innumerable graces over the whole population. Its church became the principal center of pilgrimage in Albania. Skanderbeg himself had visited this shrine more than once to ardently ask for victory in battle. Now the shrine was threatened with imminent destruction and profanation. The two Albanians were torn by the idea of leaving the great treasure of Albania in the hands of the enemy in order to flee the Turkish terror. In their perplexity, they went to the old church to ask the Blessed Mother for the good counsel that they needed. That night, the counselor of the afflicted inspired both of them in their sleep. She commanded them to prepare to leave their country, which they would never see again. She added that the miraculous fresco was also going to leave Scutari for another country to escape profanation at the hands of the Turks. Finally, she ordered them to follow the painting wherever it went. The next morning, the two friends went to the shrine. At a certain moment, they saw the picture detach itself from the wall on which it had hung for 2 centuries, leaving its niche, so it left kind of like a hole in the wall. It hovered for a moment and was then suddenly wrapped in a white cloud through which the image continued to be visible. The pilgrim painting left the church and the environs of Scutari. It traveled slowly through the air at a considerable altitude and advanced in the direction of the Adriatic Sea at a speed that allowed the two walkers to follow. After covering some 24 miles, they reached the coast. With unbounded confidence, Giorgio and Descalvus walked on the waves of the Adriatic Sea. Without stopping, the picture left the land and advanced over the waters, while the faithful Giorgio and Descalvus continued to follow, walking on the waves, much like their divine master had done on Lake Gennesareth. When night would fall, the mysterious cloud, which had protected them with shade from the heat of the sun during the day, guided them by night with light, like a column of fire in the desert that guided the Jews in their exodus from Egypt. They traveled day and night until they reached the Italian coast. There, they continued following the miraculous picture, climbing mountains, fording rivers, and passing through valleys. Finally, they reached the vast plain of Lazio, from where they could see the towers and domes of Rome. Upon reaching the gates of the city, the cloud suddenly disappeared before their disappointed eyes. Giorgio and Descalvus began to search the city, going from church to church, asking if the painting had descended there. All of their attempts to find the painting failed, and the Romans incredulously regarded the two foreigners and their strange tale. Shortly thereafter, amazing news came to Rome. A picture of Our Lady had appeared in the skies of Genazzano to the sound of beautiful music and had come to rest over the wall of the church that was being rebuilt. The two Albanians rushed to find their country's beloved treasure miraculously suspended in the air next to the wall of the chapel, where it remains to this day. Although some inhabitants found the stranger's story difficult to believe, careful investigation later proved that the two were telling the truth, and the image was indeed the same one that had graced the shrine of Scutari. Thus, Mary, most holy, with the humble participation of a pious Third Order Augustinian on one side of the Adriatic and two faithful Albanians on the other, transported her mysterious fresco from the unhappy and unfortunate Albania to a little city where very close to the heart of Christendom, beginning her historic journey from that small Albanian shrine, which she had not chosen by chance. She traveled across the sea to pour on the world a new torrent of graces under the invocation of Mother of Good Counsel. This special invocation of Our Lady of Good Counsel of Genazzano is for those who are searching for her good advice. Her feast day is on April 26th. Woo, that was long. I'll have to try to remember to make note of it, like a timestamp or something, in case anybody wants to pass it by. But I hope that at least some of you enjoyed it. Last but not least, on May 1st, which again is May Day, we have the feast of Saint Joseph the Worker. So that could be another reason why like this father energy showed up. And maybe the mother energy is tied to Mary. That's possible too. Saint Joseph the Worker. For this, I went to www.franciscanmedia.org, and I'm sure it will be a lot shorter. To foster deep devotion to Saint Joseph among Catholics, and in response to the May Day celebrations for workers sponsored by communists, Pope Pius XII instituted the Feast of Saint Joseph the Worker in 1955, which equals 11. This feast extends the long relationship between Joseph and the cause of workers in both Catholic faith and the devotion. Beginning in the book of Genesis, the dignity of human work has long been celebrated as a participation in the creative work of God. By work, humankind both fulfills the command found in Genesis to care for the earth, Genesis 2:15, and to be productive in their labors. Saint Joseph, the carpenter and foster father of Jesus, is but one example of the holiness of human labor. Jesus too was a carpenter. He learned the trade from his stepfather, Saint Joseph, and spent his early adult years working side by side in Joseph's carpentry shop before leaving to pursue his ministry as preacher and healer. In his encyclical Laborium Excerns, Pope John Paul II stated, quote, "The Church considers it her task always to call attention to the dignity and rights of those who work, to condemn situations in which that dignity and those rights are violated, and to help to guide social changes so as to ensure authentic progress by man and society," end quote. St. Joseph is held up as a model of such work. Pius XII emphasized this when he said, quote, "The Spirit flows to you and to all men from the heart of God, man, Savior of the world. But certainly no worker was ever more completely and profoundly penetrated by it than the foster father of Jesus, who lived with him in closest intimacy and community of family life and work," end quote. To capture the devotion of St. Joseph within the Catholic liturgy in the year 1870 or 88, Pope Pius IX declared that St. Joseph was the patron of the Universal Church. In 1955, Pope Pius XII added the feast of St. Joseph the Worker. This silent saint, who was given the noble task of caring and watching over the Virgin Mary and Jesus, now cares for and watches over the Church and models for all the dignity of human work. And so, of course, St. Joseph the Worker is the patron saint of workers, laborers. Lastly, on the planetary calendar, on the 26th at 11:31 p.m., the full moon in Scorpio will occur, 7 degrees Scorpio. And then the following day, April 27th at 4:02 p.m., Pluto, April 27th, that's somebody's birthday. Oh, my ex-husband's mother, my former mother-in-law. At 4:02 p.m., Pluto goes retrograde, 26 degrees Capricorn. And that Pluto retrograde is going to be about like getting rid of stuff that holds us back. So that too could be tied to this. You can do it, right? You can drop that baggage. Could be what this is saying. Anything that's keeping you, that you've been lugging around, that's been keeping you from moving forward, it's time to kick it to the curb. Anything or anyone, maybe I should say too. Definitely a time for us to let things go and not be, to get unstuck and not held back. Pluto is also a very like spiritual. We talked about spiritual death, spiritual planet or energy as well. So it could definitely be letting go of like belief systems and ideologies and sort of like, laws and rules and stuff that we would follow, like getting rid of that and saying, okay, that's been restricting me. My mind is open to this now. And it could be as a result of the ascension that, we've seen and felt, and this healing maybe that could come through a relationship, a twin flame relationship. Sometimes that's why we come together, or that's part of our coming together, is for one to help to initiate something in the other, and that starts like the healing process, and maybe like the purification process. I hope you guys have enjoyed the read. I haven't done a reading this long. I mean, last week was long too, but before last week, I hadn't done one of these long readings in quite some time. I don't know how all of a sudden I started talking, so much more than I had been for the past several months again, but I don't know. I apologize to those that don't like it, and for those that do, you're welcome. Please do like, share, subscribe, comment. As I mentioned, I will be back with the love reading and the full moon in Scorpio reading, and I still have these two readings, these two client readings I have to actually get uploaded. So hopefully that too. Maybe I'll share them publicly. Thanks for watching. Namaste.